Well, today I want to focus on the shorter catechism again. We're looking at the topic of the creation of man. And so in the 10th question we read, how did God create man? And the answer is, God created man, male and female, after his own image, in knowledge, righteousness, and holiness, with dominion over the creatures. As I was reflecting on this particular catechism answer, I was mindful of how significant this answer is in light of contemporary experience and all the challenges that are ongoing in our world today. You have the constant challenge of humanistic evolutionary theory that dominates our culture, dominates our public school systems, and so forth. And so you have the evolutionary view of man, which says that man arose from lower orders of being up until the point of where he's at today. You also have the kinds of things going on socially in terms of the relationships between men and women and how many genders are there. We today hear of some 57 different genders in the world, and so the Catechism reminds us of many important things here, beginning with the fact that we are created by God, and so this gives us a starting point that the evolutionary process does not provide. Evolution says we arose out of a series of accidents and evolutionary leaps, perhaps, from very low order beings up until where we're at today. So it's a system that's not guided by God, or at least the scientists will say, I can't tell that there's a God or not. Hold for one moment. So the evolutionary theory provides for an impersonal environment in which we see the development of mankind, or at least an agnostic viewpoint of that. And so that, I think, provides no sense of hope or purpose in the world when you deny our origins at the will and purpose of an almighty, all-knowing, infinitely personal triune God. So the Catechism puts us off in a great position here from the start. It says it created man as male and female, so obviously in the scriptural point of view there are just two genders, male and female, and these are designed by God to work together, to serve each other in their mutual obligations before God to exercise dominion over the earth. In the confusion of our current day with regard to gender, what you see, I think, is the fracturing that comes to the human personality and to the human experience caused by our sin. And so as sin works its way in our minds and our hearts and fractures us and confuses us, people begin to think that there are all different kinds of genders, and for the moment I'm a male. If I wish I want to be a female, I can be a female, or what have you. And this is the byproduct of a sinful culture that has abandoned the authority of God and his dominion over us. And in many respects, I remember one pastor, in talking about this, said that he felt that this was the ultimate rebellion against God because it goes against our structure, just our very creation. We are made as male or female, and every aspect of our being reflects that. Men are just different from women. Women are different from men. We think differently. We act, behave differently. We're just different. Everything about our bodies is conditioned by our gender. So to try to change that through transgender surgery or something like that is really to only do some superficial things that really don't assist. I got some people wanting to come on. Let me see if I can find them here. I guess you're okay. All right, I'm sorry. So we have we have a tremendous starting point in this catechism answer. Man is male and female. That's how God has made us, and the work of salvation will be the reclamation of that construction that God has placed within us, help us to recognize what God has made. What is more, the Catechism reminds us that we are made in God's image. This, too, is amazingly significant for our current day. When you think of the evolutionary point of view, since it denies God, or at least is agnostic about whether there is a God out there, it certainly then denies that man is a special creation of God, made in His image. And when you deny the fact that we are made in the image of God, there are all kinds of consequences to that. There are all kinds of consequences to the denial of the fact that we are made in God's image, and some of them include, if you will, going back to Nazi Germany as an example. The Nazis embraced Darwinism, the evolutionary development of mankind, and so they saw that there was a superiority to the Aryan race as compared to other races. There are different ways in which they understood that, but it generated a racism that looked on other races as inferior. And this is the product, again, of Darwinism, or the evolutionary point of view. And in fact, some say that, I was reading G.I. Williamson on this, and he was saying that Christianity and the evolutionary scientists can say that, well, we have a common view of origins in one person, one individual couple, and life goes from there. Well, the evolutionary scientist really has no basis for that argument. There could be multiple sources for humanity, and you can have different outcomes as you have different developments, evolutionary developments over time. So racism can be very much embedded in the evolutionary point of view. And but Christianity reminds us that we were made in God's image, an image that reflects knowledge, righteousness, and the holiness of the truth. And so our minds, our rationality is part of the fact that we are made in the image of God. Our moral standard is part of the fact that we are made in God's image. We have a conscience within us that dictates how we are to think of ourselves and others. So we have this template in which we function and live in God's world. And that sets us apart from the rest of the animal kingdom, as we are uniquely made in God's image. And so that's a tremendous benefit to the Christian faith. And it is a safeguard against the evolutionary point of view, which says you're nothing more than an animal, and therefore you can be slaughtered and killed should that be in the interests of the superior race that's trying to preserve its superiority. So the fact that we are made in the image of God is a safeguard for our humanity, and those who deny that image treat each other as not much more than higher animals. So I think that's a very important catechism answer to reflect on, just the fact that we are made in the image of God as male and female. So I think we'll finish our catechism there.